So before we begin, I think we should start off with a prayer. The prayer we're all secretly saying to ourselves every day leading up to this episode. Oh, our great God who bless us with double crit, 6 damage he'll be thy name. Please, 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 don't let Lolly Masaki be looted. Please, let us have this one bastion of innocence. Amen. That being said, with Masaki being a little girl now, it does leave a man like me who likes his card game waifus kind of makes me a little lonely, and one does not know when we will get another. Oh, mama, we're good. Okay, yeah, so Cardfight Vanguard Shin prequel. Episode 1 is here, and oh boy, did they swing for the fences. So this wasn't, I don't think anyone was quite expecting this for our first episode, but I think I respect what they tried to do here. So, just starting off right with it, like, they were smart. They were just like, we're going to establish within the first 2 minutes why this is different from the last series, how these characters are different, how their motivations are different, and even how just stylistic things that at first you wouldn't think about, like, maybe in some ways our color palette's a little bit different, and maybe in some ways our music is a little bit different. And there's a lot kind of set up here that I think is leading in some interesting directions. But before we go further with what's in the future, let's talk about the past for a minute. It's weird because this is a prequel. Anyways, so in Cardfight Vanguard G Episode 1, that series had a very monumental task to do. After Cardfight Vanguard's terrible 4th season, it was up to them to reinvigorate the franchise, make it feel new, give it a new future. That was its goal, and it failed fucking miserably. Why? Because the first episode of G misses the point to being able to do new characters and new storylines. It has the exact same feel, it has the exact same tone, and part of the big problem is they do nothing to really establish why it's different except crap said in the dialogue. We're still in the same town, we still have the exact same school setting, just now with a purple uniform instead of a gray one. And also, Chrono is not actually different from Aichi. They spend a lot of time talking about why he's different. They're like, oh, he's a punk, oh, he gets into fights, oh, he's scary. But in execution, Chrono is just another lonely kid who can't connect to people, and Vanguard becomes his outlet to do so. Only this time, because we just talk about what he isn't instead of what he is, he has absolutely no personality. So in essence, they really failed to try and get and capture what you can do with a new series. Say what you want and say which one of any of the Yu-Gi-Oh series you don't like. There are a couple duds in there. But with Yu-Gi-Oh, at least every series makes sure to establish why it's unique, what about it is different, and how these characters fit in the story they are being presented in. And since G never did that, G never really had a stable foot to stand on. This, however, just goes right for it. And do I really know if the feet it's standing on are going to work? Not really. But it went for it, and that's what I can really appreciate. Because the first 5 minutes is just a complete, fuck, I gotta talk about the energy of this episode. Like, this might be the most energy we've seen in an episode of Vanguard. Normally, everything in this show is very sort of calm-paced, it's very much A, B, and C happen in that order, and that's fine. It works for that series. But in this episode, it's just like everything goes on at once. You've got the cliche, crazy, evil businesswoman, and you've got her army of dudes in suits trying to invade a card shop, which is currently being guarded by 2 high school students. That is what we open with. It's insane, it's over the top, and it's goofy. It's insanely cliche, because, like, come on, we've all seen 80s movies. We've all seen the big, bad organization, or the big, bad, big business who wants to come in and take out the little guy, the guy you're supposed to support, and gosh darn it, they're just so great. That is what's going on here, but what separates it is, like I said, just the energy. Everything is presented at once. It never relies on you realizing it's a cliche. Again, in G, it relies very heavily on the cliche that Chrono is misunderstood, that he's not actually a bully or someone who wants to hurt people. But they don't respect the audience's intelligence, so they just make you sit, for 25 minutes as this overdone cliche is played out. Here, it's the cliche is presented and done within 2 minutes, because then you have Shin riding a skateboard with a bag of catnip, attracting all the street cats, because cats creep out the evil lady who wants to take over Card Capital. It's just so insane. Even if you don't think it's that funny or creative, it's just so ludicrous you can't help but laugh. Also, I think this was an attempt at assassination. You can't tell me that many street cats, not one of them doesn't have rabies. So then, you get Shin, who jumps on top of the villain because the skateboard trips, and we get a weird scene of sexual tension. This woman looks like she's about 30. Shin is 18 at most. Something is not right here. So then we get that bit. We see Chrono's aunt and father. They didn't do much. The aunt, I thought, was, though, a nice balance out for everyone else. Being the straight man, I thought worked very well. The new kid is Exposition Dump 101. I don't know why we need to know that this lady is a former swimsuit model. I don't know why we need a scene of her in the bath, but I like it, so I will not question it. We get the scene in her shop, and I kind of like the idea that it establishes she's join our conglomerate, become part of our franchise. The thing is, though, and this sort of then goes into with why Mark betrays Shin. I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but Mark betrays Shin and fights him for control of the store because of Shin's grade. Shin can't focus on school because he's trying to protect the shop. Shin is sleeping in the shop. He's eating microwave noodles, assumingly all the time. And it's just sort of we get this sense that it's kind of getting to him with his grades. And the thing is that this woman is offering that sort of safety, that sort of protection, stability. It's why people do give in to big corporations and why they just let their mom and pop stores be absorbed. Because you have that protection, you have that safety, and you can't blame someone for wanting that. So, when you have Shin, who's basically just being this rebel who refuses to give in, I can kind of see where Mark is coming from. Obviously, we'll see that more explored in the future, but I thought that was a nice way to just go into it. The fight is fun. It's interesting to see Nuba's new playstyle. It's interesting to see Genesis's new playstyle. The summoning of the Grade 5 was badass. If you're going to introduce a new gimmicky concept, that's how you do it. I like that. I don't know if these things will be meta. Time will tell. And then finally, because we got to kind of wrap up here, the last time I recorded this a few minutes ago was 20 minutes long. Just to final off, we should obviously talk about Misaki. And so with this scene, we only spent about a minute with her. And I feel like once we go really into what's going on in Misaki's head, it's going to consume the entire episode. So I think for the sake of pacing and getting what you need introduced out of the way in the first episode, I think it did make sense to play her down to a minimum. But I think the scene with her in it is very important. And I like the way that when we get to that scene, they use every aspect of animation to show off that this is important. That's really what's going on here. Shin isn't just a goofy clown who just wants to stand up to the corporations because it's cool. You get into the scene and the colors are more serious. The music is much more serious. And it's great it comes off from a goofier scene because you just feel that sudden change in everything that's going on. And you get this nice insight into what's really going on here. Shin plays the clown. He plays the goofball. But ultimately, a big part of why he's doing it is he just wants Misaki to smile. He wants to fix everything, but he doesn't know. He doesn't really know how to take care of a child. He doesn't know how to make her feel better. And he tries it because he's got the cute kitten and it's sitting in his hair and he's trying to seem friendly and it just does nothing and she's just shut off. It's a very simple scene. It's a very straightforward scene, but I think it works. I think it's good setup for where this is going. What is Shin's motivation? What is he ultimately about? And it's not ultimately about protecting the card shop. It's giving Misaki family. It's protecting the last thing his sister and brother-in-law, if I was reading that correctly, his sister and brother-in-law, it's the last thing they left, and he wants to preserve that for her, and he wants her to have that last thing of family, and that's ultimately what this is all about, and I think that's a very nice message, and I'm gonna love to see it get explored in the future. And based on the OP and especially the ED, I think we're going to get a lot more focus on this than we were afraid we might. I'm looking hopeful. I'm excited and curious to see where this goes from here. I think they did a good job of establishing why this show is different, which is ultimately what they needed to do. And I am thankful for that, I am happy for that, and I am excited for what's next. But are you excited for what's next? Tell me about that below. And as for the Vanguard question of the week, Fall Fest Chicago, because of course we start this out in the summer because that's just how this goes. Fall Fest Chicago was this weekend, and the number one deck, the one that took it all, was actually Aquaforce. I wasn't really expecting that. Aquaforce, up until now, hasn't been doing as insanely well as some people would have hoped, but nah, they took the whole event. So what do you think about that? Craziest thing to me is like freaking Neo Nectar got third, if I'm correct. I was not expecting Neo Nectar to top, but it seems to just be that deck that's just always there in top cut. Always just kicking ass in the only way it can. So that's pretty cool. Tell me what you think about all that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week for more Shin Prequel.